All right. Beautiful morning.
Welcome, everybody, to the meeting today. This is our Independence Day meeting. In the agenda, we can see that Independence Day, it's a event that many countries have that commemorates the anniversary of a nation's independence or statehood. Because the history of almost every country, in some way, was ruled by someone else at some time. And either the civilization fell or they fought their way out or whatever it is. So we all have Independence Days. And the US one is coming up on July 4th. And be mesmerized by the waving flag behind me. The only day where I could get away with such an atrocity in my background. Our word of the day is independence. It's a noun. It means freedom from control, influence, support, aid, or other things like that of other people. So you can be independent yourself, you can be independent as a group, as a nation, whatever it is. So remember to incorporate those kinds of stories either about your nations or about your personal independence that you've fought for through life in our table topics later today. We have a lot of people helping us out today. Let's introduce each of them. Please, when you're called upon, let us know any special ways that you're performing your role today. Our timer today is Jim Guld.
Yeah, hi everyone. I will be your timer today. I'm going to try and use the Toastmasters timer app there. I have lights for green, I have lights for yellow, and I have lights for red, and whatever else we need. There are different timings for the different things. I think everybody's a 5 to 7 for the speakers. Is that true?
That's what
We'll
I'm
get that
seeing.
together. Let me know. I should put the chat up so I can pay attention to, and I'll put those things in there as we finish. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Our audio all counter today is Nick Lahani.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My first choice today was actually to be our counter at the same time as signing the Star Spangled Banner. But without video, unfortunately, I won't be able to perform that. However, plan B is that I will be listening out for all the R's and the ums and the double clutches and any kind of filler words that I can think of. However, if you use a filler word that I use, you're exempt. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, good plan, Nick. Thank you. Our grammarian today is Mohammed Al-Gandhi.
That will be me. I'll be doing a few things. One, I'll count how many each one will use the word of the day. I'll pay attention to proper use of English grammar, and I will look for nice and interesting phrase or idiomatic use of English words. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mohammed. Our watcher today is Jim Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As the designated watcher this evening, basically I am a group stalker. I'm going to be watching everybody, and I'm going to be evaluating your video presence. Toastmasters is not about speaking, it's about communicating. And part of your communication is video, how you appear. And I'm going to be watching you, not just the speakers, but watching all of the audience members, watching everybody throughout the time and making sure that everybody's well-centered, they're not doing this and they're not falling asleep and all that sort of thing. And I'll be reporting any transgressions at the end of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim. Our chat monitor today is Diane Rubino.
Hi there. I'm just going to keep an eye on the chat box in case folks have questions or observations, anything. I'm just going to be watching that. And just like Jim is watching all of us, I'll be watching the chat monitor. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Diane. Our next helper is our vote counter, Deborah Spears.
Hi, everyone, and I'm the vote counter, so I guess I'll be counting the votes.
All right, thank you. Remember to send her the votes after speakers and evaluators and table topics.
Yes, please.
That is, I believe that's all of our helpers. Did I miss anyone?
I'm
Hey,
Elaine. I'm your topics master for the evening. And so the second portion of the program, after the first three speeches, I will be asking Toastmaster attendees an impromptu response question. You'll get to show your stuff at extemporaneous speaking. It will be fun.
All right, thank you, Elaine. Elaine, that's right. Our meeting has three parts. First, we'll do some speeches, prepared speeches. Then we'll do our table topics, impromptu speaking. Then we'll have immediate evaluation feedback given on those prepared speeches. Let's enter our speech segment now. On the record, all the speeches are 5 to 7 minutes today. And our first speaker is Jacinta Watkins. Today, Dr. Watkins will provide an overview of leadership styles. She'll be speaking from the Persuasive Influence Path, Level 2, Speech Number 1, Understanding Your Leadership Style. And the title of her speech today is, Who Are You Working With? Let's welcome Jacinta Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Have any of you went to work one day and just looked at your boss or even thought about yourself and just wondered, who am I working with today? Perhaps you felt like this Rubik's Cube. Everything all jumbled everywhere and you have no idea what's going on. Today, we're going to learn about leadership styles and how you can learn more about yourself to do better as a leader or understand who your boss is. I'm going to also discuss what my preferred leadership style is and how I plan on using that leadership style to assist with our public relations campaign. There are 8 different types of leadership styles according to Toastmasters International. I encourage you to take a screenshot or write them down because I would recommend that you spend some time and research some of those leadership styles because you'll learn more about yourself and how to communicate with your boss or even how you think of topics as it relates to the way you like to work. There is the affiliative, there's a bureaucratic, coaching, democratic, altruistic, innovative, authoritative, and pace setting. I will tell you that when you have the opportunity to review some of those coaching, those styles, you'll learn more about yourself because in order for you to lead other individuals, you need to be able to lead yourself and understand yourself first. Now, my leadership style is shown in the next slide, and I encourage everyone to spend some time really carefully digesting what's actually taking place because we'll discuss it in a few moments.
What are you doing?
Now there's that guy.
Another Asgardian?
That guy's a friendly?
Doesn't matter. If he frees Loki or kills him, the Tesseract's lost.
Stark, we need a plan of attack.
I have a plan. Attack.
I will say that Iron Man is my favorite superhero character as a disclaimer. However, there's a lot of things we can actually learn from this type of leadership style. there's different ways that the pace setter, which is the type of leadership style you just saw, how they actually work. Oftentimes with pace setters, what takes place is that they expect their team members to embrace their projects right now, immediately right now. And a lot of times there's not time to chat. As you saw in the video, there was no time to have a discussion about what was going to actually take place. This is what the problem was, and now we need to be able to fix it. The second type of tidbit for you to know about the pace setter is that they set very high standards for themselves. As you notice, Iron Man jumps off the plane. And once he jumps off the plane, what happens? He's expecting someone else to jump off with him. What you did not see is that Captain America actually jumps off the plane as well. They set those high standards because they will go in the trenches and do what they have to do, but they know what needs to be done, so they want to make sure that you're able to do it also. Another key aspect of the pace setter is that they don't feel the need to communicate a lot of information. In the video you just saw, Captain America asked, "What's the plan? We need a plan." And Iron Man said, "Attack." It didn't say, "I'm going to fly off this plane, I'm going to land on this planet, I'm going to grab Loki, and I'm going to grab Thor." No, there wasn't any time for all that. They had to get to business, not much communication happened. Now, this can be ineffective over time because the team members may feel as if they're never living up to that standard when in actuality they are, but sometimes the pace setter may have a hard time being able to recognize that. Another key aspect of pace setters is that they are best working with individuals like our Toastmasters group. They work with very motivated and skilled individuals, and that's what they do. They have a wonderful time because they know everyone is in place to do what they need them to do. Now, how can you, in terms of your public relations, our campaign, how can I help you with knowing that I'm a pace setter? There's a couple different ways. First, I'd like to target our internal audience. That means I need to know more about you. I am the type of person who will get things done and set the standards so that we can continue moving forward and grow as a club. What I really need from everyone is to know about if you've done a level completion, regardless of what club you assign it to. Have you completed your DTM? Have you had the chance to have some type of promotion? Update your bio on our website so that we can learn more about each other. There's so many things that we have in terms of our skill sets that we have the opportunity to learn more from each other. Another aspect is our external audience. I want to focus on new members and help them get to our website. There's a lot of information that's been posted on our website. We really want our new members and new guests to learn more about us as a club. Our bios, having those completed properly, helps with that also. We have a social media presence with Facebook, YouTube, and with Twitter. So we have a lot of ways for us to be able to take care and really get some more individuals back into our club. Now, the best way for you to understand this process is knowledge. The more that you know, the more that you'll become successful. And I encourage you all to spend some time with the leadership styles, learn more about them so that you know exactly what you need to do. Because unless you are able to actually know what's going on, then you're never going to know who you're working with when it relates to yourself or your boss. We've discussed the leadership styles and gave you a little bit of homework for you to review them and learn more about them yourself. We've also discussed how pace setting is my primary leadership style and how I plan on sharing that with the club so that we can continue to grow. Remember, who are you working with? Mr. Toastmaster.
Hey, thank you, Jacinta. Everybody complete your online bios or Iron Man will jump out of a plane and attack you. Our next speaker is Cairns. He's not a religious man, at least not in the traditional sense. Whenever he travels, however, he visits churches, temples, and places of worship. Why? Because he learns lessons each time, just not always the ones the church leaders intended. Graham has decided to complete one more Competent Communicator Award before the Legacy program finishes next June. So today he's doing speech number 3, Get to the Point. His speech is titled Lessons from the Temple, but not the Pulpit. Graham Cairns.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters guests, it was nearly 3 months ago that I woke up, turned on Facebook, and it was like a punch in the gut. The Notre Dame Cathedral was burning. And the pictures were truly horrifying, not because I had an affinity with the Catholic Church or even with the Notre Dame Cathedral. In fact, the only connection that I had with that cathedral was that I had gone past it on a hop-on, hop-off bus, and we had taken some photos. But I had said to my wife at the time, we must come back and go inside and take some more photos inside. And that's an opportunity that I'm not going to get, ladies and gentlemen, because the Notre Dame Cathedral is, to all intents and purposes, gone, at least for years to come. And there was a lesson that I learned, ladies and gentlemen, from that church fire. And the lesson was that don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today, because tomorrow is not writ in stone. Things can change. Talking of things written in stone, on that same trip that I took the photos of the Notre Dame on the hop-on, hop-off bus, we were in England and we went to Stonehenge. Anybody here been to Stonehenge? I mean, it's all fascinating, but you can't get close to the henges, to the big stones. You're just not allowed to. There's ropes and things to stop you from getting in. But at nearby Avebury, there is another henge. It's not quite as spectacular, but you can walk up, you can touch those stones, you can feel the history of that place. And next to Avebury's henge, there is a church that we literally stumbled upon. And we walked into this church, and in the middle of this church, there was a granite plinth, you know, a rock. And in the top of that plinth, they had carved a bowl that was used to baptize children. Now, the baptismal font had been carved in later years, but it had been in use since about 1100 AD. That's 1,000 years that babies had been baptized in this font. 1,000 years. And yet, I come from a country where there is no built architecture more than 250 years old. Oh, the Indigenous Australians have left us history. There are cave paintings which are immeasurably old. There are incredible dreaming stories which tell of the very creation of the land that is Australia, but no built architecture, not a house, not a church, not a steeple, nothing, not even a lean-to. And from that, I learn a lesson, ladies and gentlemen, that no matter where we are from, we have a history which stretches far beyond that which we are used to. I learn lessons everywhere I go. In Fiji, a few years ago, we ended up, and as I always do, taking photos of temples and churches of a Dravidian Hindu temple. I don't know whether you know them. They're the tall, triangular shaped ones, which are incredibly colorful. And inside the temple, there is a ceiling which has been painted with pictures from the Indian holy books. But the interesting thing is that when the entirety of the ceiling is painted, the man who paints them gets out whitewash and whitewashes off a section of that ceiling and starts his painting again, because that is his devotion, to continue telling the stories of his people, to continue telling the stories of his religion. Once he's completed, he just starts once again. That is his service. And we've heard tonight from Jacinta about how there are different sorts of leadership, there is different sorts of service. This is his service. And from that, I learned a lesson, ladies and gentlemen. Even when we think we have completed a task, there is nothing to stop us from doing it again and learning and improving and continuing to serve. That is why I'm doing this Competent Communicator Manual one more time. I want to tell you the story of one last church that I went to on my recent trip to North America. We were in Canada, went up to Vancouver in British Columbia, and there's a quite lovely Catholic cathedral there. And as I have seen at Catholic and other churches around the world, Out the front, there was a beggar. In this case, it was a woman who was asking passers-by for money. I've seen the same outside cathedrals in Santo Domingo, in the Dominican Republic, outside temples, outside. You've seen it yourself. Whenever you walk past a church, because people who are going to church tend to be, at least think about giving service. Well, anyway, this woman was standing at the base of the stairs and she was asking for money, and everybody was just walking past her, which you've also no doubt seen. Well, I went up a different set of stairs and I went into the cathedral and I took some photos of stunning stained glass, which is one of my favorite things, and the inside and the nave, which sounds amazing. And I was doing all this stuff, and then I walked outside the church, and there, just outside the main doors of the church, there was, I was going to say a statue, but it was actually more a sculpture. It was a park bench, and lying on that park bench was a man. He had his robe pulled over his head so you couldn't see his face, you couldn't see his arms, you couldn't see his legs. All you could see was his feet. And in each of those feet, there were nail holes. The story, of course, is from Matthew 25:40. I tell you, whatever you do for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you do for me. And yet I was struck by the juxtaposition of this sculpture of Jesus lying there saying, what you do for the helpless is what you do for me, and standing directly below, at the bottom of the stairs, a woman that everyone was passing by. Now, I took a lesson from that. I'm hoping that you get the point that I'm making here. But the overall point that I make is that I go to churches, I go to temples, I go to places of wonder about who we are and how we got to be here, not to learn the religious lessons, but to remind myself that we are an incredibly diverse race, humans. We have so much that we can achieve, if only we look around and see what needs to be done. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Graham. Our third speaker tonight is Chris Guld. She's a longtime Toastmaster, now embarking on the Presentation Mastery Path. For Level 2, Learning Your Communication Style, Chris is going to tell us about lessons she learned while running her computer training business back in the 1980s. Chris Guld, with the speech title, I Didn't Mean to Make Them Cry.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. One thing I've learned about my communication style is I'm not funny. Don't get me wrong, I have a good sense of humor, but it's not something that I can summon at will. I don't have a quick wit, and I shouldn't try. Let me tell you a story about, in the 80s and 90s, I owned a computer training center, and businesses from around the county would send their employees to take classes and learn how to use WordPerfect for word processing, or Lotus 123 for financial spreadsheets. And we had hands-on classes, limit to 12 people. We had 6 computers lined up against one wall, 6 computers lined up against the other wall. And then the middle of the room was open for the teacher to walk back and forth, and you could easily see the student's screen and see who needed help. I have a picture of that here. So, and that happens to be me there in the middle of the room. So this is the kind of setting that we had. And I loved teaching WordPerfect. I knew my stuff. I actually went to Orem, Utah, where WordPerfect headquarters are, and went through their certification training. I was one of the first 17 people to pass their test and become a WordPerfect certified instructor. And the students that I had come to my classes loved it. They knew that they could ask me anything. I knew the answer. And I would give them assignments, exercises to do where they were able to accomplish things that they never even knew existed. And then there was Julie. Yeah, mute yourself. Then there was Julie. She was scared to death. She said her boss sent her saying that her job depended on her learning WordPerfect. She did not want to learn WordPerfect. She did not like computers. She didn't think that she could, and she was scared to death. And it was palpable. And I couldn't even help her. Where all the other students were working away at their exercise, I could see that she needed help. And I would try to get close so that I could, help her individually. And it was like she had a force field around her. And as I tried to get close, she would literally start to tremble. There was nothing I could do. So I thought, well, what can I do? I need to break this tension in the room. Now, we had another teacher, and actually that's her right there, Anne. And she had a fabulous sense of humor. She could be depended on with her quick wit to say something that would make everybody laugh and would ease the tension. So I started thinking, what would Anne do? And I came up with something, but no, it wasn't what Anne would do. It was stupid. I said, hey, Julie, I won't tell your boss if you decide to leave and go to the beach today rather than stay in class. She didn't laugh. It did not work. It was not good. She stayed just frozen at her computer. Another hour went by and I heard thunder outside. And I jumped in again, stupidly, and said, hey, Julie, you've lost your chance. You'll have to go out and play in the rain if you leave now. She jumped out of her seat and ran out of the room crying. And I hear her telling her friends, my teacher told me to go play in the rain. Ugh. Lesson learned. If you're not funny, don't try. Don't push it. Now, I think of myself as a nice person. I'm a friendly person. The hardest thing that ever I had to do as a business owner is to fire somebody. We had a receptionist named Tana, and she was a sweetheart. She was a really good cook too. And any office function, she would bring the best dishes. But she just didn't get computers. I kept hoping for her to learn, but it didn't happen. And I know as a boss, it's not doing anybody favors once you've lost confidence in them, in their ability to do their job, to keep them around. I had to let her go. I knew she would be upset, so I didn't want to do it at the office. I made arrangements to go to her house. I gave her a good check. I told her that she was a wonderful person, but this wasn't the job for her. And she started crying. And it wasn't just the low moaning sobs. It was the screaming and wailing of hands kind of crying. Oh, I'm such a horrible person. How does this happen? But lesson learned, there was nothing I could do. Sometimes you just have to let them cry. So that was 30 years ago. Do I still make people cry? Well, I've learned to just avoid those situations. I don't teach job-related skills anymore. I teach people how to take travel photos. with their smartphones and how to make those travel photos even better with free phone apps like Google Photos and Snapseed. It's fun stuff. And I do it with videos on my website. People who want to learn this will find our website, watch the videos. I may never see them face to face. No more reluctant learners to make burst into tears. Employees that I have to fire, that's easy. No employees. Our company is our website, and it's Jim and I are the only ones. And I asked Jim if he remembers me ever making him cry. He said no, but you know, I think there was a time, but it was tears of joy because our life is so good. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Timer, was everybody on time today?
Mr. Toastmaster, indeed they were. Let's see, Jacinta Watkins, 725, Graham, 708, Chris, 725. With the 25 or the 30-second deviation, they all do qualify.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. Before we declare independence from the speech segment of the meeting, everybody please send your votes to our vote counter, Deborah Spears, privately in the chat. Our next segment is table topics, and to lead that is Elaine. Let's welcome her.
Greetings, fellow online presenters, Toastmasters, and most honored guests. I'm pleased to say we have two guests with us this evening. We have Buddy Hodges, who has some experience with Toastmasters and is eager to join. And we also have Marilyn Silva something. I'll ask her to actually state her own name. And she joined us a couple weeks ago and is here tonight before we do our impromptu table topics questions to actually let us know what she'd bring to our group and why she would like to join online presenters. Marilyn, can you unmute? Click that little button in the lower left and say your last name for us, please.
My last name is Marilyn Silva Juarez.
Welcome, Marilyn Silva Juarez. Take it away.
You can call me Marilyn. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Elaine. The reason I would like to join Toastmasters is to improve on my speaking skills and presenting skills, learn how to better organize my thoughts, and also relay my thoughts so that they can come across clearly, and learn from others, such as Graham. As he said, we're incredibly diverse humans, so we can learn from one another. And as Chris said, word perfect. I am one that knows word perfect very well. And from listening to Chris speaking, I think she would be another one of those people that will encourage. I found that she did provide some ease and tension in speaking and promoted me wanting to speak. So thank you for that, Chris. And I thought you were kind of funny, actually. And yeah, so I hope to be welcomed into this group. I like what I am listening to so far, and would like to learn from each and every one of you and improve. Thank you.
Thank you very much for helping us get to know you and know of your interest in online presenters. Now I'd like to switch on into the real portion of table topics, the impromptu questions. Now, this is the week of Independence Day, but you know, there are these funny calendars around where every day of the year actually has some holiday associated with it. So that's what I'm going to be asking some of you to comment on. And for July 1st, which is today, I would like to call on Lou Brown to be the respondent. Lou, today, July 1st, is actually called Resolution Renewal Day. So what do you think about that? Is there a resolution you need to review? respond to this type of holiday?
Interesting question, Madam Table Topics Master, because I actually thought you were going to say today is Canada Day, because it is, if you weren't aware of that. But in terms of, I'm sorry, actually, I forgot the specific wording. Repeat resolution day? It sounded like redo your resolution.
Resolution renewal.
Resolution renewal. Wow, you know what? I have to say, it almost sounds a little like Graham's speech in terms of renewal, a religious experience. However, in terms of resolution renewal, I mean, what a better time to have a resolution renewal. I almost said religious renewal. Because July 1st is right in the middle of the year. So boy, what a perfect time for us to think about, okay, what are some of those things that I made a resolution for at the beginning of the year that I should probably revisit? However, those of you who are quite familiar with the concept of resolutions may already know that the renewal usually kicks in a lot sooner than July 1st. Most people seem to drop their resolutions around March 1st, maybe April 1st at the latest, but we all seem to do a lot of the popular resolutions: lose weight, stop smoking, stop swearing, attend Toastmasters more, you know, all of those things that we know we should be doing more of to improve our health and well-being and our mental well-being, etc. With that said, given that this is, again, the middle of the year and also the beginning of the Toastmasters cycle, I think the best resolution to select in this case would be, let's get our Toastmasters mojo on again and kind of kick that up a notch and consider doing like what Graham's doing in terms of repeating a CC or something similar, going through the motions again, or taking on a new path. My favorite resolution renewal, especially for this time of year, especially in July 1st, would be getting back into the swing of the Toastmasters world. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Lou Brown. Yes, we are revving things up here in Online Presenters. I checked earlier today, and there are now 49 members. Whoa! You know, we got great people, and we're attracting great people. Okay, so I want to call on one of the new great people who said he wanted to join. Buddy, you are here. Are you willing to answer a table topics question, kind sir?
I am willing. I'm having a little difficulty with my webcam, I guess. Can you see me by any chance?
We can't see you, but you know what? We'll do okay with Buddy and just an audio response.
Okay.
Okay. So today, Buddy, is World UFO Day. Now pretend that you are the assigned leader for celebration of World UFO Day in your locality. How are you going to celebrate?
Wow. Well, I would look up at the sky to see if there's any new evidence, but I would probably get out some videos of some of the UFOs that have been memorialized in video over the years. There's been a lot of interest in UFOs, and most recently from the news, where apparently the Congress has been briefed by the military. They've unclassified military records of UFO sightings. So that would be exciting to see some of those. I would love to celebrate with some of the recent news that is apparently real. So we would, I would have a big party and have a big screen video. That's what I would do.
Thank you so much, Buddy. And we really appreciate your interest in this club and participating in table topics tonight. Now, you notice I have, you know, the cosmic background, and I actually arrived on a device on February 2nd, 1952, and I am one of the friendly visitors. You never know who's going to show up in Toastmasters. But on to the next person. Let's see. Jim Barber. On July 3rd, there is an not well-known holiday called International Plastic Bag Fee Day. Now, I'm not sure if there was a typo in that International Plastic Bag Free Day or Fee Day, but you pick one and talk about this holiday.
Madam Topics Master, my fellow Toastmasters, I'm assuming that it's International Plastic Bag Fee Day in an attempt to eliminate, or if not eliminate, then at least minimize the use of plastic bags. Plastic bags are a classic example of a good idea turned into a nightmare. It sounds good. We're going to save trees by using plastic bags instead of paper bags. But unfortunately, the plastic bags never deteriorate. And so they are around for years and years and years, clogging up our oceans, clogging up our rivers. They are an environmental nightmare. And we've let the genie out of the bottle. We don't know what to do about it. And putting a fee on them would be a good way of doing that. If you're going to have to pay to use a plastic bag, then maybe people wouldn't use so many of them. I have problems, though. For one thing, the International Plastic Bag Fee Day, who are we going to pay the fee to if it's an international effort? Which government is going to be the recipient of this? So it sounds good, but I'm not quite sure that's going to work. I could see some other problems as well. So Bitcoin, that's a good idea. I like that. That's true. We could do that. But frankly, I kind of hate to bring the government into anything because it seems like no matter what it is, they have the best of intentions, but they manage to screw it up. So I'm not in favor of International Plastic Bag Fee Day. I am in favor of eliminating plastic bags, but I don't think putting a fee on them is the way to go. There's got to be another answer. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you oh so much, Jim Barber. I agree with you on many counts there. Okay, July 4th, we all know, is Independence Day in the United States of America. But somewhere along the line, someone also decided it's Independence from Meat Day, M-E-A-T. Mr. Jim Dent, Toastmaster Jim Dent, DTM Jim Dent, former president of OP Jim Dent, would you address this?
Well, you got my name
How
right.
would you like to respond to Independence from Meat Day?
Independence from Meat Day. Well, that's a good one for me because I love meat. I'm a what I call a secondhand vegetarian. So cattle and a lot of meat animals eat vegetables. So their meat is actually made from processed vegetables. So in a way, you're a secondhand vegan when you eat beef, pork, and chicken and so forth. So, but I can go with that. I mean, I can go a day without having meat. I don't have meat every single day. There's some days I have nothing but vegetables. One of my favorite vegetables is green beans. And with my heart, I'm supposed to stay away from vegetables that are high in vitamin K, which are things like spinach and peas and certain things, but lower things as well. The big thing is I'm on warfarin, so as long as I'm consistent every day, then the warfarin will be balanced out and covered. But if I stay away from those, I can keep a low warfarin count. But yeah, I could go for a day or even a week without meat. But long term, I could not go without meat. I'm a meat eater. I grew up eating potatoes and vegetables. I was a hunter when I was young. We'd go hunting in Pennsylvania and up in Canada, and we fished in small game and large game, bear, moose. Even went Kodiak bear hunting one time up in Canada with my uncle and my father. So meatless, I could do it. And I think sometimes more people could eat more vegetables than they do, especially stay away from junk food restaurants. Back to you, Elaine.
Thank you, Jimmy Dent. We wish you days ahead with happy eating and good health. I want to ask our Toastmaster of the day, John Quick, do we have time for another Table Topics question?
Table Topics Master, we're on time today, so I think we'll move to our next segment. Thank you very much for preparing these topics. By the way, the red stripes in the flag symbolize meat. And the 7 flavors of barbecue sauce.
Look it up. That's historically accurate.
Look it up. I tell the story, but we're on a tight schedule today. To lead our evaluation segment today is our general evaluator, Deborah Carr.
Yay. Hi, everyone. Well, if you would please send your votes for Best Table Topics speaker to Deborah, that would be absolutely great, Deborah Spears. And also, if we could please have all the time put in, if you would please, Jim, that would be great. So we have had a really great meeting so far. It's not even a skeleton group. I mean, we keep growing by every so many minutes somebody joins us, which is really great. So what we have is our evaluations are a key part, as we know, of our meeting. So for Janitha, David evaluated her. And if David, if you would give us your evaluation, that would be absolutely great.
All right. Thank you, General Evaluator. And thank you, Jacinta, for a great speech today. I always enjoy your very high energy presentation. You definitely could give Iron Man a run for his money. Now, one of the things that this is sort of me interpreting what I saw and heard. I'm guessing a little bit, but I think there was a glitch there where you went to the video and you went back to your presentation and you went back to screen sharing, and I think you had a slide or two after the video, right? And you couldn't quite get to it. The video kept playing again. So it's both a criticism in terms of, ideally you would have practiced it more and you wouldn't have been surprised by anything and you've known exactly how it worked. I also want to give you some praise because I thought you recovered well. And even though you're futzing with your computer a little bit, you kept going with your presentation and kept trying to keep us engaged. But you did try and go back to the video. I think probably in the ideal world, you would have said, screw the video, I know what I want to say, and you would go on and delivered your message, and you didn't really need the slides at that point. And I say that as somebody who often gives presentations where if my technology didn't work, I'd be dead in the water, and and I probably would not have a good plan B. So I'm just telling you in the ideal world how it might work. But the video was kind of fun. You have to keep in mind I'm a comic book movie fan and all that, but not everybody is as into that as you are, and some people don't know who the heck these people are and why they're doing what they're doing. And Tony Stark as a person to look up for leadership style. Tony Stark's kind of a jerk, some of the time. So I don't know. I'm not sure that's exactly who you want to identify yourself with in any case. But yes, action. We're not going to debate anymore. Attack. Yes, that is a good way to keep things moving. That is the mark of a leader in any way. Let's see. In terms, you might get this from the grammarian, but I did hear. Have you ever went to work? Probably should be have you ever gone to work, right? But overall, a high energy presentation. Now you related it back. I thought you could have maybe done more to relate back that style to your personal and professional life. You did some of that with relating it to the role you're going to be playing as VP of PR for this club. I thought you maybe should have set those up a little bit more, because people may have forgotten that you just got elected as VP PR of this club. And so I don't know if it was clear to everybody why you were talking about public relations and the member page and all that. But overall, a fantastic speech, and I look forward to many more. Madam General Evaluator.
Next up, we have Lou that evaluated Graham. So Lou, if you would please tell us your evaluation.
Certainly, thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, and especially you, Graham. I'm trying to look for you. There you are, my friend. Graham's life lessons from the church to help us elicit change, from the temple to today's life. Graham, wonderful subject matter that you used for this particular project. Get to the point. I really enjoyed how you used religion as a way to cement life's lessons. It was a good approach. We can all relate to the power of religion, of the fact that it's just so, it permeates our everyday life in so many ways, no matter what religion we are. And there are so many stories and quotes and things that are so rich in terms of religion that it is a great use of that tool in order to show us what those important life lessons are. And of course, there's so many ironies, as one of them you pointed out particularly. In terms of the chronology of your speech, your opening, great way to start with the story of Notre Dame. It was a pretty powerful experience when I saw it myself in the news. I was like, wow, I'm not even an extremely religious person now. I used to be, but not now. And I was really emotional myself about it. I was like, wow, I couldn't believe this. And again, that shows you the power of this institution. The fact that you included a lesson in your opening with that story kind of got us off to know, okay, this is where you're going. These are lessons from the church. And of course, with your title, we knew that already, but it was a great way to start again. The body of your speech organized very well, a simple but powerful approach. Here's a story, one of the trips that I took, what I saw, and the lesson I learned from it. Bing, bam, boom. You had your 3 examples, your 3 lessons. Wonderful approach on that. I don't have any particular things to say about any of those stories other than they were great ways to make an analogy between your particular visit and that lesson. Closing, good wrap up. Although I did find it a bit abrupt. It looked like you had enough time, so I'm not sure what the issue there was. It looked like you wrapped it up in about 2 or 3 sentences, so I found it to be a bit abrupt. You had some time, so perhaps you could have added a summary of the lessons again, something to wrap it up, or since you opened with a lesson, maybe you could have closed with a lesson, so it kind of puts a little kind of bookends to the whole thing. And as I thought about it, I'm like, you know what, one of the lessons that you might have selected for your closing was the very fact that you're choosing CC as a way to continue your education. The whitewashing example from the Fiji temple, I believe it was, would have been a great way to say, okay, and I'm doing another CC, another lesson that you learned. A couple of areas for you to think about. While you always have good vocal variety, I certainly sense your emotion and passion as you were sharing each of these stories. You speak very clearly, can understand every word, and your volume is great. I found your pace to be a bit quick. It was hard for me to keep up with everything you were saying, and I didn't catch every word. And it wasn't because of your wonderful accent. It was, for me, the quickness. Also, your background. Normally, you have a fantastic type of background with cityscapes, waterscapes, something like that. I found my eyes starting to get gazed on that wonderful mountain of colorful pillows you have over there. But overall, speech was great. I really liked your ability to keep your eyes on the camera, by the way, on us. That was a great thing that you did there. Your objectives was to get to the point. You did it, and you did it well. Great job. Back to General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Lou. And we had Joy, who evaluated Chris. So bring it on, Joy.
Thank you, Chris, for a lovely speech. You started in a humble conversational way, so suddenly we were in this flow of stories you were telling. And it was wonderful that you have this younger you.
Joy, I'm going to interrupt for a minute because your volume's low. So if you go back into that arrow and raise it up again.
I cannot do because I cannot get anything from, then I have to restart the whole computer again.
Okay. Okay.
You talk real loud.
Yeah, I can hear her.
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lovely speech. And I especially like the younger you, the picture of younger you in these surroundings that you were talking about. Because I also have been to many of those courses in the 90s and been instructed. So I felt that you were just speaking to me. You had the perfect eye contact. You had this conversational style, good pacing. And one can see that you talk a lot online to people, one-to-one, because it was so professional, relaxed, smiling. And even this sad incident with this woman who was crying, it came through very nicely, because I could totally relate to that one, that when you are young and you just cannot learn and understand computers. And I was really trying to dig and find some improvement proposals, but I couldn't get any. You came through as a wise, mature woman who has learned some important life lessons, and that you are enjoying what you are doing now based on what you were doing before, which you also enjoyed at the time when it was happening, except this firing people. So all that was very reliable to women of my age who have been through the same kind of experiences. Thank you very much for your speech.
Thank you. If you will please send your votes to Deborah Spears for Best Evaluator. Moving forward, we had the table topics, and which I want to make sure that everybody has voted so we can get through that. But right now, what I'd like to have is Jim Barber, will you give us your report as watcher?
With pleasure, Madam General Evaluator. Watching this evening was a pleasure. First of all, so let's see, 6 or 7 of our members, about half of us, have great backgrounds. I love it. Elaine, Joy, Deborah, John, Jim, Jacinta, and David all had wonderful backgrounds. Love that. John, of course, gets the award because of his patriotic background, but at the same time, he's the Toastmaster, so he set it up. It was, you know, I would expect him to kind of do that. But anyway, he did good. And on a personal note, let's say, Mohammed, if you could get a little bit closer to the camera, you're a little bit far away. There you go. That's good. Feels like you're more of a member of the group. And Nick, where'd you go? Nick, you never blinked the entire meeting. It's amazing. I don't know how you managed to do that. No other comments? This is a great meeting. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. And we have, our champ monitor was Diane Rubino. Diane, if you'll tell us your results.
I'd love to. A few things that I noted that I made note of when I was watching everybody. Two things that came to mind. One is that I'm of the opinion that an individual speaker's timing can go straight to that person rather than to the group, or straight to the person who is monitoring that. The vote counter, I guess that would be. I prefer more focus on the humans and less focus on the chat. I also feel like there's a bit too much banter, and I'm sure that's just a personal style. I am of the opinion, again, that we need to be focusing on the direct contact rather than like humorous comments. I think that brings down the professionals of the meeting, in my opinion. So that's what I have to say on this subject.
All right, and thank you. We have, our next one is Muhammad as our grammarian.
Thank you. I use a lot, so I have to work on that to correct it. The word of the day was used 6 times by John and 5 times by Aline. No one else used it, except me now, independent, so I use it once. I was very impressed. The level of grammar and use of English is above average for a native speaker. Again, I use a lot, something I need to work on. Jacinta, you use the word whom very well. A lot of people, they mix whom and who. One observation is, Chris, when you were telling the story, you shift in the tense. At one point, you were talking in the past tense, and a few sentences you used the present tense, which was inappropriate with the continuity of the tense shift. The word that I like most is what Aline mentioned, resolution renewal, which I think is very good word or phrase. I haven't heard it before. So I'll add it to my vocabulary collection. Thanks.
Thank you. And if we would, or if you would please send your best evaluator vote to Deborah Spears, please. So she can have all that in. Next we have the Connor, Nick, who had a little bit too much Botox because his face is definitely frozen tonight. But Nick, I know you can still speak. Would you please tell us about the AERS?
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Today was a terrible meeting. I didn't get too many ums and ahs, especially from the prepared speeches. However, there were a few amongst the evaluators and the role players. However, rather than naming names, what I'd like to do, just take 30 seconds to give some advice to the newer members and the visitors about the counting and the generally just speaking. One of the ways in which I improved my speaking and cut down on my filler words and my ums and ahs was to not to speak, but to pause, breathe, and then when I did speak with energy, conviction, and confidence in the knowledge that what I'm saying is what I believe. And if you can bring those 3 things with you, you will actually incur very few ums, ahs, and clutch words on there. So that's my report for today as our counter. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. Tonight I felt that our meeting was not only fun and concentrated and a little bit higher energy than, I think it just depends on who's here and whatever, but I also felt that we got to know each other a little bit better. We didn't do the, we had all the chit chat before we actually started the meeting, and we forgot to do introductions. But what happened then is it brought a little bit more continuity. I love getting to know people, about people anyway. So with that, I felt that all the speeches were good. They had just enough separation and flavor that they were unique, and we learned more. The evaluations I felt were good, and I just felt overall we had a great meeting. So Deborah had put a couple of the final votes in, but Deborah, if you will tell us who was the best speaker tonight.
The best speaker with all the final counts is it's Chris. Mm-hmm. And table topics, Jim Dent, and evaluator is Lou.
We missed something. Evaluator was
Lou.
Lou, great. Thank you so much. And I am going to turn forward to John Quick, our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator Deborah. We've completed our meeting today. And thanks for our guests, Buddy and Marilyn, for participating with us. And we've got to hear from you already today. And I'm excited that you're both wanting to become members now. That's all good news. Great job with the meeting today, everybody. I would like to declare independence from this meeting. If we have any final words, we do have just a couple extra minutes tonight, so I'll give the floor to our next officiant, who I think is David.
All right. Did we get feedback? Do we have guests tonight? We don't really have guests, do we? Do we have his guest? Oh, we're Marilyn. Well, Marilyn's on her way to becoming a member, but we'll still ask her, did you enjoy yourself tonight, Marilyn? What do you think we did? What can we do better?
I think this is a wonderful group. I enjoyed listening to your talks and your speeches, even the evaluations, the counts, all of it, just the teamwork here and the good feedback. I think I could learn a lot and hopefully improve on my speaking skills and expressing my thoughts in a clear manner. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sure we're going to learn something from you too. I'm counting on it. That's kind of the point, is we all get to learn from each other. Is there any other business?
I would just like to invite Buddy, if there's anything he'd like to add about being with us tonight.
Well, it was a very well presented meeting. I enjoyed learning and seeing good role models. However, I had a lot of mental distraction because my webcam seemed to be not recognized by Zoom. It was like in and out, but I got a little pop-up message in the lower right-hand corner of the monitor that says, Zoom does not recognize your webcam. And yet some of the time it did, and last week it did, the same webcam. So I wonder, did I need to pre-register beforehand, and then Zoom would have had me recognized? Would that have made a difference if I had?
Well, I think you need a new computer. That's.
Well, or there's the universal tech support tip: turn it off and turn it back on. We can try that. It might just be a glitch that happened tonight. One thing to do: go ahead and go to zoom.us. It's actually not zoom.com, zoom.us, and sign up for the free account that they offer. And then you can practice with it. So is it, what kind of computer do you have? Is it a laptop, a desktop?
It's a pretty good desktop, fairly powerful and modern. And the webcam is, it's a $100 webcam, although I bought it a few years ago. It's a Logitech Pro 9000. I'm going to try unplugging it and plugging it in again right now, because I'm not using it for the audio. I'm using a Blue Yeti for the audio. So I just plugged it in. It didn't help. I mean, I unplugged it and plugged it in. I don't know.
Towards the bottom of your screen, where the little video icon is. Do you have that?
Yes.
And if you click on the upward arrow thing, is there anything that shows?
Oh, there we go. We see you.
Okay, now
we see you out of something.
Strangely, but I didn't do anything except click on the up arrow, and it says Logitech QuickCam Pro 9000, which is before.
Okay. Well, sometimes if there's multiple video devices that it can choose or thinks that it can choose, it might pick.
I think John fixed it. I think John fixed it remotely.
That's very good. I
think Buddy fixed it himself, but anyway.
I think, Buddy, I think the key thing here is you've got a really good computer, you've got really good webcam. If you want me to check it out, just send it to Nick in the UK, and I'm sure to check it out.
He really does
take
have
a couple of years.
Good camera himself.
Well, it may take me a couple of years to actually sort it out for you, but I will send it back. I promise.
I'll keep that in mind.
Would you buy a used car from this man?
I just don't know whether to depend on this next time or to try to get a different webcam because
I think David's advice, which is effectively what you did then, is turn it off, turn it back on. In this case, turn off the video by using that up arrow, clicking on a different thing, and then turning it back on, and it seems to work. So, yeah, hopefully it'll be right for you next time.
Yeah. Sometimes you just get a futz with this stuff. And,
Yeah.
and then you never know why it wasn't working. You never know why it started working again. At least that's my experience with a lot of technology that I deal with.
If I can share real quick, I'll say that lots of times my camera didn't work either. And what it was is I either had too many windows open, so my RAM was full, or there were instances where I needed to clean out the cache, things like that. I mean, it was something fairly simple.
Right. Well, and actually, Jim Guld a couple of years ago gave me the advice that it was always a good idea to turn the computer off and turn it back on before going into a webcast or an online meeting.
Yeah, my middle name used to be Reboot.
So just shut it down, give it a clean start. The only problem I've run into that is one time I tried to do it like 5 minutes before something was supposed to start, and then Windows decided it was going to run an update, which took half an hour. So
hard to believe.
We'll try and help you through this stuff as best we can, but we're mystified half the time too.
Thank you so much.
No,
All right.
I'm using the same webcam that he is. And it's old, but it works great. It was quality. Absolutely great. So he'll get it. He'll get it.
All right. I think we'll say good night, everybody, and have a great week.
Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
See you back.
Bye, everyone.
I was in Canada